The All Smiling Faces podcast is now sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Always Smiling Faces podcast on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. It's another full house tonight, and I think there might be some dramas at some point tonight, but we'll get onto that in due course.
I might as well have stayed at home.
Yeah, you normally do.
Fair play.
Hi, boys. Everybody all right? You all right, Bestie?
Yeah, I sound all right.
Good. Have a few pints on Saturday?
No.
Did you not?
No, I drove.
Give over.
No.
It seemed like you had a few pints.
You were the most lively, jolliest I've ever seen you in your life.
I'm a very dull man normally, so it doesn't take much.
I've never seen you move so fast, Bestie, when you ran past her at half time.
I'm just talking about seeing something. How's that? Have a nice afternoon.
You two boys all right, Mark? Good?
I'm all right, yeah.
Digger, you well?
I'm all right.
All right, okay. Let's get straight into it. So, one change at the weekend, Bestie. First change.
Yeah, Bruno out and
Alan in.
Yes, I. It was kind of the change that would kind of expected, I think. I mean, Saint-Maximin's been on the bench for a good few weeks now, or since the World Cup, really. And I think when Bruno went off injured, when he went off injured against Palace. No. If you go home games, go Leeds, wasn't it, maybe?
Yeah, we're going to settle in. He's off.
He's all here. No, I'm thinking that was when he went off at half time a few weeks ago. I think it was Leeds. So Maximin came on, and that was the change. That's kind of how it went. So it was kind of the expected change, I would suppose you would say. So Maximin's kind of the is being seen as, and probably is, the 12th first teamer that we'll have. You know, I mean, he's always in the fans' eyes, he's the one that if there's a change made, he's probably the one coming in.
There was still a bit of debate over possibly Jacob Murphy.
There was
even Gordon was mentioned as well, though I thought as most did, it was probably too early for him.
Yeah, and Jacob Murphy, I wouldn't have been massively surprised at because Eddie Howe likes him, and he has been what he's coming from here on kind of pretty much every game. He seems to come on and he does a good job. He's finishing. We've spoke about here many times. He's kind of end product, but he does the job for Howe. Like with his, he does what Howe wants him to do basically. So that wouldn't have been a massive shock. I think bringing Saint-Maximin in.
Was Fulham the game which you were trying to think?
It was Fulham. Yeah. Fulham. And it was a fairly recent home game. I think bringing Saint-Maximin was kind of the choice that I'd say the fans wanted on the whole. Although it didn't always sound like it in the ground.
Yeah.
More of which later, no doubt. But yeah, I think that was kind of it was a change that you think would be the obvious one, yeah.
Mark, you said maybe it was a bit too early for Gordon. And I think I wasn't under the same thoughts and idea, to be honest, just with how Eddie Howe normally handles new signings. But then I thought, because he's got Premier League experience, would he need him to settle in, as we say?
Yeah, I don't think it's the settling in. He would have came into the team and done a job and done it ably. He's fit, he's ready to go. He's obviously been playing forever, and it's more so for me, he hasn't had long training with the team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the big one. So he doesn't know how to play a game with his teammates. I think that's why the decision, I think, went against starting him.
That was the change that you want to see, just like everybody else as well. So, saying
no, I didn't want him on. I didn't want him on. Not at all.
So Maxi coming in.
Yeah, hang on, wait until I poured this.
Would have saved her a couple hours, like.
Yeah, we're gonna get there at some point, but so 100% that was the change that I thought had to be made. I thought I wish we didn't have to lose Bruno though because of the change. Do you know what I mean? I want Bruno obviously to stay on, but no, I was absolutely all for it, and I think some things I have to say later on, but I think a lot of people after certain appearances only 14 days before Saturday wanted him to start, and though everyone wanted him to have a go, and he changed the game, and he deserves a chance. I think, as I say, I think the change that was made, I was absolutely all for it, and I think a lot of people after certain appearances only 14 days before Saturday wanted him to start, and though everyone wanted him to have a go, and he changed the game, and he And somehow that changes after 60 minutes, but that's for me, that was perfect. Yeah. I think he deserves to start.
I think I need to start by apologising to everybody for the match reaction, because until yesterday afternoon, I thought it was Callum Wilson that's put the ball in the back of the net, which was disallowed. It was Joe Willock.
It was.
You did say that in the ground, actually.
Well,
why didn't anybody correct us? And I did a podcast reaction yesterday, and nobody corrected us while I was doing that either until the comments
section. So you knew he said
had
the
it.
day before? You knew he said
At the match, he was like, "Oh, was that Callum Wilson?"
And you must have went, aye.
And I wasn't sure. I went, "Oh, I think, I'm not sure," because I couldn't actually. I thought it was Willock, but he was so convinced it was Callum Wilson. I doubted myself whether it was or wasn't. I was like, "Oh, I don't know then." And then I can't remember it getting announced as a goal, because obviously they went straight to VAR, and then so we probably never actually heard at the game that it was him.
I don't think it was announced. No, I don't remember it being said.
I just assumed it was Callum Wilson, but I know now it wasn't. Betty was a great start of the game, though.
Brilliant. I mean, how often do you see a team score twice in the first 90 seconds?
That's ridiculous.
It just doesn't, I mean, to go from the kind of euphoria of the early goal to being chalked off, was it for the ball out of play?
Yeah,
I've not seen it since. I don't know.
It looked well out. Like,
I mean, they didn't send him in the little box out. They got just on out. So, but yeah, to literally within like 50, 60 seconds of that, a really good ball by Longstaff. Joe Linton with a bit of a kind of battle in the middle. Lovely ball by Longstaff.
It seemed even quicker than that, though. It literally just seemed from the goal kick that it then.
But it probably was
straight back and in.
I'm saying 56 on the clock.
Yeah,
because I think it was like, as you say, when was the first goal? Sorry, was it like
50 seconds or something?
And then the second goal was like 3 minutes something, but that was a total lie.
That was before. It was before 2 minutes on the.
Sorry, apologise. But really, because the time hadn't stopped, really, it was a matter of seconds. It was from the resulting, obviously, kick. But I thought, Christ, we'll go out the traps well, though, didn't we? Like
really, really well.
Really well. We're just, when we play at that tempo in that way, we're almost unbeatable. We'll look so good. Like we could beat anyone.
Same as the first 25 minutes against Southampton last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we've
just
unbeatable. We've been 0-0 that many games at half time. Then all of a sudden we're just kind of scoring goals after like 5 minutes.
You score so early on, and I honestly thought we're going to smash these, and I thought we were going to just run riot on West Ham. Scoring 2, like we said, I know one was disallowed, but just controlling the ball from that moment of the game straight in there. Were you shocked that we didn't just go on and score a hell of a lot more?
Yeah, I think that's what ultimately done for us, because once we took the lead, it jolted them to life a little bit. You would have thought they would have jolted to life after the first goal, like, but they came to life and started coming at where we almost just eased off a little bit and allowed them more back into the game. But yeah, I think if we'd have kept up the tempo of what we'd started, it could have been a very, very different game. But
I think if you had asked anyone in the world, any West Ham fan, even David Moyes, after we scored, I'm going to say second, if you said they won't score again,
yeah,
I don't think anyone would have given you a price for it, because I mean, like, we were absolutely battering them, man. Like, and I thought, I'm not saying it would have been 4 or 5. I wasn't saying that, but I thought we've got a chance to get more goals here. Yeah, certainly.
You scored 2 in the first 2 minutes.
Exactly. To not score again is quite unbelievable. Actually,
it does happen though, doesn't it? When you say, like, people, you hear it all the time of, they've scored too early, because it then changes like the approach to the game and stuff like that, because you don't need to then go chasing it as much because you're already in the lead. And I think that's ultimately what backfired.
But you mentioned their bestie Longstaff's ball. Unbelievable. That.
Lovely.
I know
ball,
Callum Wilson is screaming for it, like, but it's so from Joe Linton, who was unbelievably strong.
Really good in it, right in the halfway line, like battling with, I forget who the West Ham player was. Maybe in Paqueta, actually, because him had a bit of a thing.
They did early on. Yeah. Joe Linton absolutely wiped the floor with Paqueta, but then there was a slight movement where it seemed like Joe Linton got moved on to Rice, then the dynamics changed across that centre midfield. But Longstaff's ball was pinned.
The weight of it, one touch pass, and the weight of it outside the right foot into Wilson's stride.
It was left.
Was his left? Sorry,
which I thought was even more impressive.
And just like I say, the weight of it just kind of. Oh, it was perfect.
It must be very tight for
really,
offside.
Really good, it looked it. It looked it.
It was on the replay. He was on, obviously, but it was tight though. I still thought the keeper could have done better. Like, I was right behind the goal, and I was like, wasn't a great finish.
I think because Wilson takes up these left.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
yeah.
he's expecting
yeah,
the goalie's
maybe, yeah.
right, and Wilson's kind of opened his body.
It wasn't
a
like
little
in
bit.
the corner. Do you know what I mean? It was actually
Yeah.
pretty. I don't say straight at him, of course. He would have saved it if it was straight at him, but it wasn't great goalkeeping either. But
I think him taking it so early as well is what does
yeah.
for the keeper. He doesn't have a chance to kind of set himself. He's still a decent distance out when he just bends it around him and just doesn't give the keeper the chance to.
Atmosphere was just incredible, wasn't it, when that went in? Like,
Aye.
it was because obviously we hadn't really simmered down from the
Hadn't even sat down.
first. Do you know what I mean? Aye, so it was amazing. Like
That's the thing, though, when you get like a disallowed goal can totally change. If you're 1-0 up and you score a goal, then it's disallowed. It feels like you've conceded.
Aye,
And it's like that's the crowd. It's like the kind of really flattens the crowd. But we've had the euphoria, then the disappointment, then it's straight away again.
yeah.
It was amazing. That.
Much if you had
Oh,
to
it
be
was
offside for that
unbelievable.
second one.
Oh God!
I know. To be fair, actually, I must admit, I did
Obviously,
tell it, and I
foul
did,
on
in the
Jordan.
back of my head, the lad sitting next to us went, I hope he's on offside after
I would
all
have
this.
walked out at that point. I know what's
Aye,
happening.
Yeah.
I've read this one.
It's quite funny though, the amount of people that were still coming in and had missed 2
Loads.
goals
Yeah.
like after that.
Yeah, it was
Great
loads. I
stuff.
missed it.
Unbelievable.
I think overall the game, normally we'll go through certain moments of the game and things like that, but it was quite non-eventful for times. There wasn't really much happening. I felt Bestie were massively missed Bruno because I thought as the game went on, we looked like we were dominating that midfield. Joe Linton, like I said, had a great game, but then something just switched in
Yeah.
Declan Rice. I just thought he controlled everything for West Ham. And that's probably the first game where I've actually watched and paid attention to Rice and thought, you're one hell of a player.
Yeah,
you
he's
are."
excellent. Declan Rice. Super. I remember in the first half, funny enough, thinking that we didn't miss. It felt as though we didn't miss Bruno. I remember watching the game. We had the ball, we're kind of bringing it towards the Gallowgate. And I was thinking, like, I can't think what else we'd be doing better. We totally controlled it. But as you say, yeah, as the game wore on, I mean, they scored the goal in the first half, not fairly early on. Half an hour, something like that. 35 minutes, was it?
I think so. I can't remember.
But either way, as a half war uneven, you could see Rice coming into it more, and then like he was probably the man of the match for me, to be honest with you.
100%.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I can't think of.
Well, he was. I'm
Don't
not
use
saying,
this here, it's Saint-Maximin.
no. I thought Joe Linton wasn't far off. Like I thought Joe Linton was unbelievable. I was like 3 minutes.
He was by far our
He
best player.
always is.
Incredible. By far our
Joe
best
Linton's
player.
coming to my point now where if he's not a 9 out of 10, you're going like, oh, what's wrong with him?
He was
He's
he
brilliant.
was
He's so
unbelievable,
consistent.
I thought, honestly.
It was a good battle, the pair of them in
Them scored 32
midfield.
minutes, 32, so about half an hour. Yeah.
I think that, like you're saying, there was just that little bit of a change in midfield with like Paqueta went more out to the kind of right hand side of the front of their midfield, kind of inside right type of position, occupied that,
That'll do,
and
Just anywhere.
just
That area.
down
Yeah.
there.
and then I think that's what then kind of allowed him that little bit more freedom in there, and then Rice was say battling in against Joe Linton and Willock. He had Willock in his pocket the entire game.
Get a plug in, Will.
After that,
he was dreadful. But I think Rice though reads the game so well. Like, do you know what I mean? There was
Yeah, he
somebody's
does
putting
that.
out fires when you think you're coming forward and there's going to be a possible chance, and he'd be the one sweeping it up. He's so good, so good. But I personally, there was the times I thought Joe Linton was trying to do one man, trying to do all of the midfield's job. He was winning the ball deep, driving forward, linking up the play. Some of his touches are just incredible. Like under pressure as well. Like he takes the ball on and he manages to create space with his first touch and then plays it off.
He was
like, I just
so
think
comfortable that he still found himself in that centre circle on Sunday as well. He managed to get back out there.
It
was interesting with Rice because we both picked up on it fairly early in the game that he seemed to be struggling a little bit. He was
Kept on
holding
his lower back.
He was holding his lower back, and seeing like match of the day and stuff like that. There was a tackle over on the East Stand touchline that done him, and he got up from that and he was holding his back, and every time for a good 10-15 minutes after that, every time the ball was stopping, he was feeling it, stretching out and stuff like that. And we're like, whoa, he's maybe gonna, mightn't last this, but then he just seemed to have forgot about and away he went. So
to be fair here, like, I actually thought West Ham played well, and I thought they had some really good.
I was shocked.
Good technical players.
They're all right.
Some good technical players, and they were, to be honest with you, I felt they were causing more trouble every time they come forward. And not now again, someone at work had said, but they didn't test Pope very much. Absolutely, I'm not saying that they did, but I felt a bit under pressure every time they broke, and the press were well with two centre halves, couldn't pass out from the back at all for the entire
They
game.
had a
I
bad
think
day
they
at the
put a lot of pressure on Byrne as well. I remember Bowen got a lot in the first half. Like
We'll probably
Byrne had Bowen had Bowen,
Yeah.
and the right back pushed right up on him because they changed. They brought Brendan Johnson,
I can't remember.
right back, came on because they made that change fairly early, and had those two down that side. So
Their left back was at the first half was just flying forward.
Yeah.
So fast, wasn't he? Like,
Well,
really
they
fast.
essentially played a 5-3-2, but pushed on into a 3-5-2, and that's where that width was causing issues.
Yeah,
I
thought
think
so.
you've summed it up there though, Decker. That there's loads of times with that match where Byrne, Botman, and Fabian Shaw just could not find a pass.
No.
The simplest of passes.
Oh yeah.
And I think there was one point where Fabian Shaw just heads the ball and it just drops back
Yeah.
on the edge of the D. And I'm thinking, what is going on here?
Well, we conceded the first goal, and from our kickoff, we almost conceded again because Shea tried to do something and we got caught, and the crowd obviously got antsy then. But you got to credit West Ham as well. And to be fair, though, this is also where Bruno is incredibly important for our team. Is his movement off the ball in them moments when Botman or Shea has the ball.
When they're struggling, he'll just come and go,
He'll
I'll have
come,
it.
and even when he comes back and shows for it, he might not always get the ball, but by him dragging the player away, it then allows Shea to play maybe a more direct pass. I still thought Wilson didn't play well personally. I know he scored, but I thought there was loads of times I was watching him, I didn't think his movement was particularly great. I thought Maxi's movement, especially for Byrne, was diabolical at times. The amount of times Byrne had the ball left side. Now, Byrne's never going to offer you much going forward, right? We have to accept that.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling him, right? I'm not. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I love Byrne. However, though, I do think you've seen the limit of what he can offer in the position at times on that game, where he was quite limited. He was limited at times, and I thought some of his passing was poor, his first touch was poor. They were putting pressure on him. He was struggling. But equally, though, when he was opening his body to go down the line, Maxi wasn't fucking showing for him. Maxi was coming inside.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, I was shouting, you've got to, Christ almighty, you've got to get down the line for him because he's got nothing to hit. So I was very disappointed there, personally, for all, listen, I know where it's going to go. We're not going to get there. But I'm not blind. There's times where, Maxi's on the field, right, and you can say that he's not getting much of the ball. However, though, he has to stay out wide, though. He has to get the width. And for me, he kept ghosting inside. And poor Burns, loads of times in the first half, was trying to go up the line. Go, shit, there's no one there. And then when he's coming back inside, he's then inviting more trouble, more pressure. But yeah, so it was. But the poor centre half, so Shea and Botman really struggled, didn't they, this time to bring the ball out and try and create? Because normally that's our starting point.
It was clear as day, absolutely clear
it really
as
was
day.
And maybe it's been worked on by Moyes. We've got to stop source. We've got to stop it from source, and that is obviously Shea.
It does feel a little bit. I heard a few people say this at the weekend. It feels a bit like we're starting to get found out slightly, and that's not like it's not like panic stations all that. But teams are starting to kind of they'll be looking at Newcastle now, like who we've got next weekend, Bournemouth. They'll be looking at Newcastle. Right, here's how Newcastle play, and here's how we can effectively. Because they've been watching teams over the season going, oh well, that's where pressing high seems. When teams press were high, which we do as well. Our defense does tend to kind of get a bit wobbly at times. And without Bruno in the middle of the park, who can kind of control a ball turn, use his body to win a free kick, for instance.
100%. Yeah.
You don't. I think we are starting to find, and it's not like we're going to plummet down the table out like that, but we are starting to find, I think, that teams are just starting to get wise to a little bit.
Well, I think we'll start on one side of the field. So the right-hand side of the field, right?
Yeah.
All of our good work, to be fair, goes down that side. And I think a lot of the reasons for that is you've got an advancing fullback, right? Trippier is bombing forward. Trippier is excellent going forward. You've got Miggy. That side of the field is becoming quite frustrating for me, if I'm being honest. There was loads of times on the game on Saturday where, certainly the first half, where I find they're getting great areas, but maybe Trippier especially refused to cross the ball. Like, they built it all the way up there, and the Trippier's got the ball. I'm thinking, right now, you've got to put it in. No, he puts his foot on the ball, goes back to Willock, goes back to me. And we'll just lose it. We'll just lost it again. And I'm thinking, what are you trying to achieve then? Like, you've created this triangle, and now Trippier's got the opportunity now to get it in the middle. But then he puts his foot on it and goes back to Miggy and then back to Willock. And I'm thinking, what were you waiting for there? I don't know. I may be wrong.
I think coming up against West Ham, when you've literally have got Callum Wilson in the box by yourself, putting a crossing's probably the wrong thing to do, because they'll just be picking headers and getting them cleared away. I agree we need to be doing more with the ball. The amount of times we could have just fizzed it into the box, played it in, in between the keeper and the edge of the 6-yard box and stuff like that. there's a real lack of that, and that you get that with the way that we play with wingers, and most teams do this day. You don't have a natural right footer playing on that wing to be able to whip a ball across.
I agree, but as I've said to you many times, Mark, Trippier's like a winger. The amount of time Trippier is, he's sometimes ahead of Almiron.
Yeah.
And
that's I 100% agree, because
I
mean we've spoken a lot recently about how Trippier's delivery just seems to be off in the last few weeks, even from corners and stuff like that. We've seen it with free kicks again at the weekend. It just isn't quite right. I just wonder whether it goes back to, it must be 3-4 games ago now, where he took that corner and he just pulled up a little bit and he stopped taking the corners and free kicks after that for the rest of that game. Whether he just done something, whether he just doesn't feel quite right to be able to get something through the ball. But yeah, for me as well, the amount of times we just moved the ball around the edge of the box. Why doesn't somebody have a shot?
Well, you took the words out of your mouth, because I was going to say, like, listen, this is sounding negative, right? I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not, right? I'm not. We're amazing. We're the fucking best, right? We are. I love all of them. Everything's great. We're amazing. But back to this right-hand side for a second. So, as I say, you're not going to cross the ball, right? Because you can't, right? Because we've only got one in the middle. Why you got one in the middle? But
I think later on in the game we did, because wasn't it Trippier's ball that was to Callum Wilson?
It was. And I was going to reference that. Yeah. He put that ball in amazingly well, didn't he? So, of course he can do it. But if you are then going to keep hold of it the way that we are, this by the way, this ball thing over the top for Almiron, I would say that's one that's perhaps getting found out a bit. Because the problem you've got, Almiron's not right-footed.
It did work 2 or 3 times, though.
But Almiron's not right-footed. And it's really hard for Almiron to have to, while it's coming over his head, almost running to the byline, he has to control it and come the other way.
Yeah.
If he was a right-footer, he would be able to just whip it straight in. And that's not, I'm not blaming Almiron. I'm just saying, like, it's really hard for him.
It comes from playing with inverted wingers, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But if you are then going to keep your foot on it and pass it around, to me, that means you're trying to work a move which might end up on the edge of the box. And a few times Will have got it, I'm thinking, right, and pull the trigger. Yeah. No.
Nobody would take a shot at the weekend.
I don't know.
Do you think, Bestie, do you think we're trying to walk the ball into the net?
I don't know about the net. No, I think
it feels like they're trying to be too intricate to me. Not walking in, but try and work little moves to get into the box to just have a little.
I mean, that's what's worked. I mean, we talk about the ball to Miggy. That's worked a good few times this season.
Loads,
I agree.
The triangles with, well, I know Bruno didn't play at the weekend, but the triangle that's been kind of established with Bruno, Miggy, and Trippier on the right-hand side, that's worked really well over the season. It was the Longstaff ball to Wilson for Isak's goal against Fulham came from that. I don't know about being too intricate. I think a lot of it might come from confidence. I think when we've got midfielders, we've got Wilkes who's missed some big chances against Southampton in the cup. Joe Linton, who's goal scoring or lack thereof, has been a massive thing for 3.5 seasons now. Even though he's a wonderful player and he has become like an incredible player, he still doesn't look great in the box or around the box trying to finish their chances off. There was a couple against Southampton where he's kind of got in position, and he almost like it's almost like when you're playing against like someone who at school, you're playing against a younger kid, you're playing against your dad. You think, I'm not going to belt the ball here because I'm just going to pass the ball to the goalkeeper. A bit like that.
I remember the Palace away game where Joe Linton got in them areas a few times, times, and looks like he's revving up to take the skin off the ball, and it just ends up being a pass back, which is mad. Yeah. It's mad, I don't know how that happens, but
do you think a lot of it might just be down to fatigue, because some of these players have played a hell of a lot of games?
They have, but they had the World Cup off as well. They had that month off for the World Cup.
Doesn't take much effort to have a swing at the ball, though, does it?
No, I'm with Mark. It doesn't.
Jimmy Greaves.
But that.
I agree. I agree.
You've got, as the saying goes, you've got to buy a ticket to win the lottery, and if you're not
raffle, normally,
if you're not going for it, then
Wembley,
you're never gonna score if you're not at least giving it a gun.
Just to reference what Bestie said, because it was a good point, and I just want to come back to it. You said about Isak's goal against Fulham. I think you said that one, didn't you? It came from a cross.
Yeah.
And the point I was making was we got in exactly the same era. We played lovely 1-2s, and then the final player, I feel like, had that opportunity, the time to put his foot on it and cross it. Well, Longstaff didn't even need to on that moment you're referencing. I just don't understand if you're going to play out wide here and do all these fancy, what you're trying to do then. If you're playing out wide, surely you're creating places to get the fucking cross in.
That's the thing. I think you're right. I think if you're in that position, if you're kind of working the ball there, then the likelihood is that the idea is to get the ball. It's going to be Trippier in it.
You would
Bruno,
imagine.
maybe Bruno. If it's Bruno, it's
Bruno,
probably
yeah,
going to go that way.
Yeah.
Trippier's going to go towards the back post. If it's going to go to Miggy, Miggy's going to cut across the 18-yard box and look for a square one or look for a shot.
Well, he did that a couple of times, Bestie, at the game against West Ham in the second half, where there's one mark where he gets that ball and he does his trademark thing where he just drops in and he's running across the edge of the box.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, just hit it.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Yeah.
You know that you can score from here. And he didn't. He just kept on
Just
running
running, yeah.
to the point where, we can't do anything with it
I
now.
wonder if it's just waiting for, maybe when he's come to address the ball, there's been someone in the way. So
You've got to take that into account, because I thought the West Ham left back, and particularly their left centre half, Aguerd, had a fantastic game. They were very, very good. And as much as, yes, we did have a lot of possession and stuff and a lot of control in that right hand corner for us, they dealt with it very, very well. So you've got to, put your hands up to that. I thought Aguerd particularly was outstanding. I'm sure we'll come on to the moment that he had, later on with Callum Wilson, which was just unbelievable. That one, but so
should Callum Wilson do better?
Yeah.
I think I don't know why he waited so long for that one compared to the first goal, because they were very, very simple. A ball through, running through on goal. It's on his other foot, his stronger foot.
He was going to try and take that round the keeper.
His touch wasn't as good. That first touch he gets when he breaks, so he moves it to the left a bit.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, and he's in doing so, you kind of shut down the angle a bit. The goalkeeper. If you're coming in from that side, here is the centre forward speaking again. Like you're normally going to go across the keeper and just twat in the top corner. But Wilson's kind of, because he's taken that first touch, has come inside a little bit. Things that is really simple, the first one, but he wants to get back on his right foot, so he does. Takes a bit of a shorter touch and he gives him a chance. And it's a brilliant tackle.
It's a great
It's
tackle.
a brilliant tackle.
I do think
Absolutely
there's not many moments that tackle would happen, actually. Really.
Yeah.
If you think of other games, or many of the defenders, that in that moment, that defender did so
Oh,
well.
he did well, but I don't think he should have had a chance to.
I would agree with you there, yes. I would agree with you.
That's what I'm thinking. If he takes the shot sooner, like he did for his goal, he doesn't give an opportunity for that tackle to come in, because the shot's already away.
I think his first touch is better. He scores. I think that first touch comes across his body a little bit, and he's trying to get back on his right foot.
Should he do better with the header?
Can't remember it.
Well, I've watched it back, because when it was live, I thought yes, but when I've watched it back, I don't think there's much else he can do. In that.
Yeah, I thought at the time, but
he's threw himself at it, and he's got quite a powerful header. I'd go straight down his throat, but looking at it back, I don't know much else.
I thought at the time, because we obviously talked about it at the time, I thought the ball had almost just hit his head and gone, rather than him attacking it, kind of thing. But watching it back, he does get a good header on. It's just one of them where it's straight at the keeper.
Yeah, I'm with that.
A foot either way, he scores.
It's a lovely ball over. Must admit.
The goal that we concede, it's a poor goal, though, isn't it? Overall,
honestly, even leading to the corner itself, it was poor for a period of play, not just that moment of the goal. It was poor. It really was very uncharacteristic of us, to be honest. But it happens, I guess.
I thought it could have either been disallowed or a penalty given if they hadn't have scored, because you saw Trippier and
disallowed if they hadn't have scored.
Literally swinging each other round in circles, doing do-si-do the lot.
literally.
Who was, sorry,
Trippier and
yeah, there was a bit. It was quite funny, wasn't it?
Paqueta. He's had 27 names this weekend.
Hang on.
no.
But yeah,
He has.
but
Every commentator called him something different this weekend.
yeah, there is a weird one I've heard.
Paqueta,
That's it,
Paqueta.
aye,
Paqueta's one
yeah.
I've proposed.
He's had all sorts of names.
Is it that?
Paqueta him,
Paqueta?
just call him his proper name.
I've come Paqueta.
I didn't think it was Paqueta, like, I've got to be honest. But I did hear that the commentator said that a few times.
It was always going to be him, though, wasn't it?
Well, it was a mad one.
Yeah.
He was shite other than that, though, wasn't he?
Him or Paul
I
Kitson.
thought so, yeah. I thought he was. Yeah.
But he was offside as well when he scored. However,
it was
Joe
Joe
Linton gets a little. Well, does he? It's a bit unclear. Obviously, they're taking it that he has, but I haven't seen a definitive angle where it shows him
didn't
getting
go to
a,
VR, did it? Or they got
But-
it?
getting a,
I think they all do.
well, they checked it.
They will check it.
they check it, and that's what they're saying.
Well, yeah, but they're not
it
like
came off
it
Joe
didn't,
Linton.
like there wasn't a pause.
Oh God.
Whilst it was.
But why is Trippier more concerned about keeping him off the field?
They were spinning each other around. They literally were wrestling each other. One was pulling one way, one was pulling the other, and was spinning round in circles. They started off on the post. They were in the back of the net. They were off the pitch, and then they were in the 6-yard box.
I can't remember.
It was ridiculous.
I did think it was poor from Trippier. Like, to be fair, but
And that's why I'm
He
saying
loses it,
it's
doesn't he?
it's
poor. Like.
it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because they're both at it. And which way do you give it?
Right. So, Degger. Maxi comes in the team. Okay, there's a lot of people saying that this was Maxi's chance because we were just expecting him to get this run of 3 games now with Bruno being missing. Okay, so we're expecting West Ham, Bournemouth, and Liverpool that Maxi would be starting. Now fans have seen, well, I'm saying fans, a lot of fans have said he's blew it now because of his performance on Saturday night there. Was it as bad as what social media is making it out? His performance?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, I don't know where to start. So I'll tell you why I'm really annoyed. Right, is I went on after the game. And listen, I knew before even going on.
Shouldn't have done it.
Whose fault it was going to be. It was always going to be his Maxi's fault. But to go on there and see that reaction of he's blew his chance and that's it, and he should be sold, and he doesn't track back, he's lazy, I'm talking every single name under the sun, really.
Was this just on Saturday that you're seeing this?
Yeah. So you've totally lost us now. So I went on and I could not believe that the reaction that I was seeing was based on the hour that I had seen. That now I thought Maxi didn't play well. Let's be very, very clear here. He didn't play well, but no way was it as bad as the reaction was when I went on there. I couldn't believe it. It was as if he had given the ball away for a goal. It was as if he had been sent off. It was as if he had scored an own goal. It was as if he had missed an open goal. Like, it was as if, I don't know, it was as if something really, really, like I had seen other players on the field play just as poorly, if not worse than him on Saturday. But the reaction on Twitter was unbelievable.
The reaction in the ground, I could even see.
Oh, it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. Like,
from early on as well.
Horrendous.
I thought he was really poor. I do think he had a pretty dreadful game. I thought he started off very well.
I think it was when he tackled someone.
Yeah,
I think he did more the other way than the way I want him to go.
Well,
I think going forward, he was terrible.
I think that's part of the not the problem. The problem covers a lot there. Like, so we'll come back to that later on maybe. But I thought he was really poor. But I think that a lot of the crowd had made their minds up before the game.
100%.
That didn't. There was a few times where Shea or Byrne played the ball, like sold him short, basically. A pass that he was never going to get to.
Willock did.
Willock didn't once.
Willock, it might have been Willock.
Hospital ball.
And on Saint-Maximin's back for that. And I thought, well,
he's fucked.
If he's playing badly, fair enough. But yeah, you don't need to fabricate stuff.
He's had it, best. He's had it. I'm telling you, he's had it, because I sat here. I don't know if it was maybe. Let's also be fair here, right? Just let us carry on a bit. So it's his first start in 5 months, right? Everyone seems to have forgot that, by the way. Like, everyone's like, oh, he's just shite selling, blah, blah, blah. The same people are the same ones that said after 14 days ago against Southampton away that he came on and made a difference, got a man sent off, he should be starting more games. They're the same people. And then they're on Twitter now saying, sell him, he's shite. After 60 minutes. So after 5 months of not playing a game of football, well, all right, he's made cameos. You're then going to just completely disregard him after 60 minutes. I find that unbelievable. Like, I
think what didn't help Maxi Mark is some of the times we mentioned this in St. James's Park. So some of the times when we're on the attack and we lose possession or whatever happens, the ball gets cleared. Maxi is the last one to get back on side. And I'm not just talking about the last one by a couple of seconds, a long, long time. And I mentioned the Decker before we started recording. We can turn over possession very quickly. So if we win that ball, he's out of play completely because of where he stood on the pitch. And that will rub fans up the wrong way when you're seeing somebody just walk back and stroll back.
100%. It's his mannerisms is what gets on people's backs more than anything. It's that almost an air of that he can't be bothered, and that's what winds people up. I'll say it now. I didn't think he was terrible at the weekend. That might come as a surprise to some, but
fucking does to me.
Because
we haven't spoken at all, have we? We haven't spoken at all.
That's because I couldn't get a bloody word in edgeways for the MDF. Chairman of the MDF, yeah, he's got a new vice chairman of the MDF.
It's the Maxi Defence League.
The Maxi Defence League.
It'll be
The
NPL.
Maxi defence
Aye,
front,
that'd be
call them what
NPL,
you
wouldn't
want.
it?
Well, league,
It
if
would
that's
be
it.
Honestly,
NPL, yeah.
I'm sick of hearing about them.
What is this?
Absolutely sick of hearing
sure
about them.
MDF would be front, wouldn't it? Rather than league.
I think Mark's just inviting a group for you.
The Maxi
Spelled it
defence,
wrong.
yeah, Maxi defence front, Maxi defence league. Go whichever
Is
one you
that a
like.
thing, or you just made it up?
so well.
Yeah, ADF, ADL, but the
Right,
Maxi.
okay. So
No, but I think right. So
But that's by the by anyway.
no, but what's the problem with supporting a player? What's the point in trying to defend? What's the problem with that? Like you've sat and defended countless players. I remember when Joe Linton couldn't hit a barn door.
There's not.
Well, there is clearly.
Well, no, all
No,
I'm
there is
saying is
clearly. You're fucking inventing
gone-
fake names.
you've
for
gone-
people that
you've
defend
gone
him.
you've gone quite extreme, I would say, in your defence of him. Which because and that comes from
Where have I done that?
that
Oh, you mean
comes
now?
from your love of him.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's all I'm saying.
So my point to you then would be, and this is really the one I think we'll agree on.
He's very wound up already, isn't he?
Oh, mate, I can't even.
you should have seen the text I got on Saturday night.
I can't even describe to you how annoyed I was on Saturday night. I went out for a few.
But you know what it is? But what I'm saying around this is because I've seen more people jump into his defence than I have slagging him off.
Oh, you must follow completely different people than what I do.
That's surprising, like. But I, honestly, right. Well, the point I want to try and make then, right. So, based on the performance he put in on Saturday, I know you said you didn't think it was that poor. Which very fair enough, right? Whatever.
I was very disappointed in it.
That's fine. Hey, that's
I was
fine.
very disappointed
That's
in
fine.
him. I will
was as
say
well.
that.
I was as well
And
because in which way were you disappointed? Sorry, in which way were you disappointed?
From I guess from what we kind of been saying of that, it was a big chance for him to come into that game. Like Chris has just said there, he's got potentially 3 games in front of him to make that position his own. There's been
So if he's got 3 games in front of him, why is there such a big game on this one then? If that 2 don't count, like. So if he has a good 2 games coming up, it doesn't matter because that hour was shit.
I don't know if he'll get into that 2
No,
chances
well,
now
you're saying
based
this-
on
Do
based
we not
on
go
that.
by the terminology only as good as your last game?
That's what I mean. So I'm saying he's
Well, then fucking drop half of them.
Come-
If that's the case.
come into that. There's been this huge fanfare of people wanting him to get into the team, expectations for a performance for him. You've been banging on at us for years and years that he's our greatest player in the team.
He was. at
That's
one
what
point.
I'm hoping for. That's
It's
that,
not what
that,
you want,
that
though,
air
probably, is it?
expect. It's 100%.
It's not what
I
you want, is
I
it?
100% want him
I didn't
to
think so.
put in a 10 out of 10 performance every single week.
I think what
I
Now,
I will never ever
That's what I wanted to ask.
hate one of our players and not want them to succeed,
Well, you can keep saying that,
regardless of
it's
what
fine.
you think I think about him.
Yeah, okay.
I do want him to do well.
So, in regards to the game itself, then, did you? I know you said you went on Twitter and you found all these people that were defending him, but do you think that the reaction was over the top based on the performance he put in on that hour, or do you think it was justified? That it's fine, that the reaction was fine.
No, there's been I would say an overreaction, and I think it's because of what I'm saying around the expectation levels that are there from a performance from him, and he didn't show up and give it. So that goes against him, and what then puts him in a very difficult position to be able to justify keeping a place in the team,
And that's
being able to stay in there ahead of, which will no doubt will come on to again, of a performance from Gordon coming on and doing what he did in the time that he was in there. But equally, we saw just a couple of weeks ago Maxi doing the same thing.
Thank God you said that as well. thank you.
I have said for weeks and weeks, probably even months, that I can see him having more of a future as an impact sub.
which he
than
will probably not
starting.
want, and that's another argument which we'll come on to. So this is why I'm annoyed, is because when I went on Twitter, it was, if someone had that opinion of like, oh well, he didn't do enough going the other way, I thought that. I've just said he didn't show for Dan Burn anywhere near enough than he should have. He should have been coming shorter. The other problem you've got is he won't run in behind. That's a tough one, by
100%.
the way. He won't run in behind now.
That was one of the things that really annoyed me, was that
but that's his game.
he
though,
was
Grealish
very,
it's just what it is.
very static. His movement, or that lack of
Yeah.
movement, both on and off the ball,
Mm.
is what
I think
is what really done for him, because he wasn't shown for the ball as you've said.
Mm.
He was just standing a lot of the time waiting for the ball to come to him, rather than coming looking for it to go and get it. And that's what puts the critical eye on him, because yes, Miggy mightn't have had the greatest game on the other side of the field, but he'll do all of those things consistently.
I kind of disagree to a certain point because I think what Bestie said is really relevant. I think a lot of fans had already decided.
That's how I felt as well.
With
I really did.
I don't at all.
There was people
no, I
around
do,
me
like,
complaining
Gallowgate.
that he was fucking defending. And I'm like, you're probably the same people that complains
Bestie,
he doesn't do it.
Do you know at one point where we start making the substitutions in the game?
Yeah.
Were you worried that we're going to hear some jeers when Maxi went off? Because I was.
I wouldn't say I was particularly, no, but I do.
I felt quite
very-
anxious at that moment.
very,
I thought,
very certain that he was the scapegoat on Saturday.
And only look just a couple of weeks back, it was Sean Longstaff that was the scapegoat.
So, Bestie, I know you said he was very poor.
I think it was very poor, yeah.
Do you think that it was fair that he was made the scapegoat for that? Well, it feels like a fucking defeat when the way I went on Twitter. But anyway,
It's
do you
weird.
think it was?
It's a strange thing with me with Saint-Maximin, because for so long he was the man. It was how many times have we sat on here and said the tactic is give it to Saint-Maximin and hope for the best under previous managers or the previous manager, because the one before him didn't have them, did he? And I think a lot of what's happened. It's what happened on Saturday. I thought he was excellent against Southampton off the bench. I thought in the second leg he did all right. I thought the time on Saturday, I thought he started very well Saturday. First 5-10 minutes, he looked really dangerous, and then it fell off a bit. I think he's trying to do what Howe wants him to do, what the team want him to do, but it's not what comes naturally to them.
100%.
I think what comes naturally to him is what we've seen him do in the past, where he hugs the touchline, he uses a bit of, he gets past it, he wants to run at players.
And skips inside.
But the problem with that is, and we've, not just us, a lot of people have had a go at his end product for a long time. I think what happens with that is he the first thing in his mind is, right, take him on, and then see where he winds up. Whereas I think we're more structured now. It's more, right, when we talk about what happens on the right-hand side with Miggy, Bruno, and Trippier, the triangles and the ball in or the square ball, the long stuff to chip ball and whatever. On the left-hand side, we don't seem to have that. I also think with a natural left-back behind him, I think that would make a difference. Well, I think I said months and months ago that I thought Trippier would be a better match to play behind him than Burn, because I think Trippier Target, beg pardon, because I think Target is a left back, where Dan Burn can play left back, but he's a centre half, and
But Dan Burn's played left back more than he's played centre back, both here and at Brighton.
No, but what he's saying though is a more.
I don't think Burn's instinct is to kind of go and support his winger necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he never
Modern-day
ever does
fullback,
it,
like
but
so.
like what Jose, Enrique, and Gutierrez had 10, 11, 12 years ago, whatever it was. Santon had it with a little bit as well. Well, Trippier's got on the right-hand side with Miggy, where they'll overlap or underlap, and now Dan Burn hasn't got that instinct. Paul Dummett hasn't got that instinct. So I think...
I disagree. Like, Dan Burn is quite often up.
But he's not
in that left-hand
so
corner when we're on it.
There was once Dan Burn went past him, and to be fair, actually, it was a nice move. Maxi did play Dan Burn in, but the cross wasn't great. He tried to put on the edge, and I thought, finally he's actually went beyond Maxi, whereas a lot of times for me he won't, and that's fine. That's what it is. Yeah. Whereas surely, Christ Almighty, a blind person can tell you that the right-hand side, you've got Trippier constantly bombing forward, which Miggy gets a lot of joy, obviously allowing him to overlap and then plays him in.
But does that not come because Maxi's sitting on the halfway line rather than getting that further up the pitch?
It's got nothing to do with Maxi playing left wing that Dan Burn doesn't run on. He doesn't run on for Willock. He doesn't run on for Joe Litton. Dan Burn, he does it once he scored against Leicester. I'll give you it. But anyone watching now will tell you Dan Burn is more like a Paul Dummett, that he'll get to maybe halfway line. That might be as far as I'll go. He is not
at all. Not at all.
Well, I'm fucked. If you think that, then I'm fucked.
Do you think?
yes, he is more defensive, but he does get up.
You seldom get in the final third, Dan Burn. But compare the right hand side. There's no way you can say there's not a disparity between how
100%. Yeah.
With Trippier,
I'm not saying it's the equivalent of having Trippier on the left hand side, but to say he's not getting forward is not true.
Now and again,
I don't think he does a great deal. I'll go back to Jose Enrique again, or Santon, or Danny Simpson would do it a fair bit. He would overlap with who was on the right hand side at the time, Ben Arthur.
But again, you've got a winger that's pushing up and wanting is getting higher up the pitch. If your winger is sitting deeper, and the reason he's sitting deeper is because of the way we've played in the past.
Yeah.
Because normally we would invite teams onto it. There'd be a load of space in behind them. He could pick the ball up in that place and run at them, and he'd have the space to do it. Now, because we are much higher up the pitch, when he picks the ball up on the halfway, he's got nowhere to go.
And this isn't a criticism of Dan Burn as such, because it's not Dan Burn's responsibility to make sure Maxi's having the best game that he has, because we're seeing it when Maxi isn't playing that Dan Burn should be in that starting 11.
Yeah.
I think what the argument is, and again, it's probably, what does he call it, Maxi Defence League or something, is what I would say is I think people are thinking that if Maxi had a fullback that was as aggressively going forward as Trippier was, I 100% believe you would see more. You would see a better left-hand side, to reference Enrique Junior Gutierrez's side. Like the link-up play between them, and of course, every time Maxi gets the ball, there's 2 or 3 on him. Period. That's just the way it is. However, I'm going to come back to what I was trying to get right at the start. Asking him, best he coined it right, that we're asking him now to do something, and he referenced this because he got an interview and he said, "I'm trying to do what the manager's asking us to do." First 5 minutes, he comes in, clatters someone in the box and wins a sliding tackle, wins the second ball, and then played a lovely long ball over for Wilson. And I was going, Jesus Christ, I've never seen him do that. I haven't. I swear to God, I've never seen him run back like that. The second half, he played left back more than he did left wing. The amount of times he was down left back. Now, I don't really want him to do that all the time, to be honest with you, because I think he's on the field to make a difference at the other end. And that was the problem on Saturday. He didn't look explosive. He didn't look, I don't know, he didn't seem to have the speed that he normally has at all.
I think something else that will hurt Saint-Maximin is what Gordon did when he came on. Because the comparison's going to be, because it's a like-for-like change. And Gordon was releasing the ball so quickly and he was off. He was gone. He was trying to, and that was what Saint-Maximin wasn't doing. Maybe because we've said, or I've said, that I think what he's trying to do isn't necessarily natural to him. He hasn't got that confidence, which sounds daft thing to say about Alan Saint-Maximin, but he hasn't got that kind of confidence in that what he's doing is going to be what gets him picked. Where I think Gordon came on and he says, right, straight away, bang, ball's gone, and I'm gone as well. I'm going to go looking for the next ball.
Oh, yeah. Listen, it's easy to look at that and say Gordon did more in the short period of time that he was on the pitch than
Gordon wasn't perfect.
Gordon
lost it a few times and all that. But I'm not getting the Gordon chat just yet. What I'm saying is I think something that will hurt the perception of how Saint-Maximin played was what Gordon did.
Yeah.
Because that was what Saint-Maximin wasn't doing that maybe people want him to do. Now, that again with me or for me, I don't necessarily think that that's his chance. That what you said earlier, that's his chance at him finished. But when you've got the quality of player that we apparently have around him now, you can't say Gordon's a great success after 25 minutes, half an hour, whatever it was. You know, the same as you can't say Saint-Maximin's a failure after a bad hour in a 3.5, 4 year career at Newcastle. You know, that's just how it works.
That's like saying he's had one bad.
No, but you know what I mean. Well, I know. I've never known the crowd. I think it's been
coming, hasn't it? Because it's been.
I don't. You remember how we always said about like Shelby, for instance, that Shelby got better when he wasn't playing.
Yeah. So
Maximin appears to have got lazier by not playing. I think people's perception of Saint-Maximin is that he's a. He can't be arsed. He's this. He's that. Where I think that's just because. I don't know what it is. That's just what people seem to think of him.
And this is again what I was meaning. So when I went on Twitter, every single person I was saying he's lazy as fuck. He doesn't do this and doesn't do that. And that was when I was really listen. This is when I got annoyed because I was like, no, that is fake. That's fake news. Like because he is working back more than he's ever done.
I think I've read a thing. But was it the Athletic?
It was just 13 kilometers. You would have covered.
It's he's run,
and everyone's got the dig out. One Longstaff's doing over 10.
Yeah.
So what's going on here? Like
13. What 13?
Well, 13. That's what Maxi was going to complete. That's what he was scheduled to complete. But no one cares about that though, because nobody does. People just pick and choose what they want to pick. Everyone says he's lazy, so he's lazy. And I agree with what Bessie said that half that crowd, if not more, the second they went on the pitch, man, didn't want him to succeed. You could tell it, man. You could see it coming. You could sense it around the ground every single time.
I completely disagree.
Of course you will.
I think
it's true.
It's not. That's your opinion.
And
it doesn't mean it's true.
So do you honestly felt that there was an atmosphere of like, no matter what he did was wrong?
The reason that he's got this reaction is because how much has he been going on recently about how it's brand new starts? The start is just about to come. You're not going to know what's going to hit you and stuff like that.
That's upsetting people.
No, but he's done a lot of that, hasn't he?
Is that upsetting you? Like,
has he done a lot of that?
Not really. He said 3 things. He said that's 3 times.
So he's done it.
Well, if that's a lot of times, then so be it.
A month ago.
Has he done it, Bestie?
He's done it, but a month ago.
Right.
What do you want him to say? What do you want him to say? I'm fat and lazy. I don't want to run around.
No,
what do you want him to say?
I just want to answer the question.
I've answered it.
You haven't, like, but
he said it a few times. He said it a few times.
So he said it. So he's built himself up to come in and give a performance, is what I'm saying. Right. He didn't do that
for his first start in 5 months.
That's why he's getting this reaction, is because people have
So
got
what-
to.
so was
people
he-
have got to. Do you want to let us finish? Jesus Christ! I know you're very, very. You love him so much, but you've got to appreciate everybody doesn't feel the same way. I know you're frustrated
Yes,
about it.
criticise him
He
throughout
has-
this episode, mind. You did say he had a
He
poor
had
game.
it, yeah. He did, and I said he wasn't that bad, but he's not even getting going on that point. When you build yourself up into this position, and you're given an opportunity to come in and go out there to impress people and put on a performance that we all know he's capable of doing, and he then doesn't show up and do it, that's why he's getting the reaction he's getting. Now, whether that's justified or not, I'm not saying that's
Do you
the
think
case.
it's overreaction?
I'm just saying that's why the reaction's happening. I've said it was overreacted.
Yeah.
It was overreacted. I'd already said that.
So
He wants to have an argument with us over Alan Saint-Maximin because he wants us to sit here and slag him off and say he was shit, he was terrible, he was the worst I've ever seen. I don't think that, but that's what he's wanting us to sit and do.
But I think me and Bessie are pretty on the fence with this one because I'm not Maxie's biggest fan. I don't think he's the worst player. I think he does probably have the spotlight on him a lot, and the slightest thing he does wrong is elevated to a next level for some fans, which I
100%.
don't get. Because, like I said, you can look at the likes of Joe Willock, Almiron to a degree. I think those probably had worse games than Saint-Maximin. But Saint-Maximin had the worst game
But
ever.
Miggy didn't stop running, didn't stop trying, whereas
that's what I'm.
Alan is.
So that's what I was
getting
highlighting
the
earlier.
stick because of that reason.
The characteristics, which was so, I'm saying characteristics, probably not the right word, but the lack of urgency from Saint-Maximin to get back in position is probably what's sitting in the back of fans' minds every single time he walks on that field now. So that's what Bessie was saying.
That
People
was
have
one
always
thing.
thought that.
And that's why you're getting those reactions that you're talking about of the groans and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, maybe that is. There was one, and I forget if it was Saturday or if it was one from last week, where we lost the ball at the pitch and he was doing his slow walk back offside. We won the ball back. Couldn't play. He was
couldn't
offside.
break because he was offside.
And then we lost it, then won it back again, and he was still offside. And it was like,
We'll
is
move on.
frustrating. That is.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I really want to see him. I've said time and time again. I like him a lot, and I'd love to think that there's a. I think he has got the attributes that Howe wants. I think he's capable of doing it. He's certainly physically, he's a fit man. Like, you know what I mean? He'll run, but it's just getting at that balance. Right, as I say, I think what he's been told to do, or what he how he's interpreted his instructions, is so kind of off kilter with what he naturally wants to do and what he has done for brilliantly over the 3.5 years. For the majority of it for me, because he has had a lot of injuries and whatnot. And there was that spell after he signed his contract when he was rotten for a few weeks. Man U at home seems to ring a bell during COVID. But I think something else I've thought as well, again, like I said, and I agreed, that it shouldn't, this 3 games has been seen as a little bit of a
make or break
trial almost.
Yeah.
It's because it's a big opportunity for him to come in the team and show what he's capable of doing.
The problem with that is it's a big opportunity for him to come in the team that hasn't got a strongest player. A player that, in Bruno, if he was fit, I think you'll get more out of Saint-Maximin because he brings him into the game more. And you would Saint-Maximin then might not feel as obliged to come in deep because he's got to get a ball off Bruno. He's got Joe Linton behind him as well. So I think he's a little bit unfortunate there as well. That said, I thought he was very poor on Saturday. Not as poor as I thought Miggy was poor. I thought Willock was poor. I thought Wilson struggled as well. Defensively, we were poor. But I think there's mitigation there, and I don't think it should be written off. And I do think a lot of the crowd had done very early on.
And sorry, I had time out there because I was getting annoyed. Not at you. Because I just think
In spite of
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I think it's because there's so much you've referenced here. That's what's annoying is that like you've got a guy. Like, I wouldn't do this for any player. I'd stick with for any player if that was their first starting 5 months of football, right? And the expectation is you're going to come on here and just beat everyone. And then to go on social media after the game and say that, he doesn't even lift a finger, doesn't even run back, never tracks back, he's lazy as fuck. That is false. Like, I'm sorry, that is not correct. That is not correct. You can see he played poor and you can see he offered nothing going forward. I'll admit that. I actually think that. He didn't show enough for Dan Burn. He didn't look explosive, didn't look dynamic. He didn't really look like he had much pace. I didn't really think you could beat the fullback. If he even wanted to, he couldn't beat the fullback. I think all of that. But the one thing, I'm certainly not going to go on Twitter. Well, right. So I thought Willock was dreadful, right? And I thought Almiron was poor. And I'm telling you now, right? Maxi's a scapegoat at the minute. But I'm telling you, sorry, Kevin Keegan, yeah. But I'm telling you, right? I fucking was, wasn't I?
I was just thinking that.
I'm sorry, it was gone. But I'm telling you, our fans love
I'd love it.
We love it, right? He'd be fourth in the league in the cup final. They're fucking still not happy. Some of them were booing next to me at full time. Can I just add? Go back a second, I'll go back. So there'll be another scapegoat will come. So you might bench Maxi, right? Fair, crack on, take what you want. But someone else will be the next one.
It was Miggy for a long time.
It'll go back to Miggy. I'm telling you now, it'll go back to Almiron because I thought Almiron played worse or equally as bad. But I'm not running on Twitter going, sell him, his time's done. Terrible performance. No, it happens. It's football. And I still say that with Maxi. What I would say to you, though, is if he starts every single week, right, and plays, let's say, 10 games, and that's what I'm saying after 10 games, all right then. Now I'll talk to you and say, you know, is he shite? And there's maybe time to move on. But I am not going to sit here and do that after an hour's game of football for his first start in 5 months. It's fucking diabolical.
Right, I'm moving on, but I'm going to end on this comment.
It's fucking diabolical.
Stephen Patterson comments in, Maxi's got to go to Middlesbrough and get something. Right, I'm going to go through the question.
You know what it is?
I'm moving on from Saint.
I just want to sell him just so we don't have to have this fucking argument.
No, do you know what it is?
I'm moving on.
No, you're not. I do want to say one thing. I do want to say one
it.
more thing. I am sick of it as well. But he's done, I think he's done because I don't think for him, in order for him to get the people turned around, he has to have, I honestly think, the most unbelievable game of football.
He was done the minute
I think he's in
Anthony
big trouble.
Gordon walked through the door, to be fair. It just dropped him down another level. It did.
But that was. But would you not agree though that? Oh my God!
What am I doing? Right,
Well,
I'm moving on.
it's about Gordon now. It's about Gordon. It's about Gordon right now. Gordon came on for 20 minutes, whatever it was. Right, looked absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like electric, unbelievable. That's amazing. But to then again go on fucking Twitter and see people saying, "Oh, well, sell him because we've got him now."
Yeah.
These people just don't even live in the real world.
It's not a big enough sample size.
It's not. Yes, I agree.
A kid on his debut
making 11 minutes, running out of tired defense and look great.
Maybe overhit one round for a goal kick and a couple of passes. I'm not going to sit here because you put that ball to be slagging him off.
No, but that was the point I said because I shouted to the lad to my right hand side because he just blasted Max.
How far away was he?
Of course you did.
You what, sorry?
How far away was he? Just said I shouted at the lad next to us.
Well, he was about 5 along. Half time, you couldn't hear anything else except this guy slagging off Maxi. Oh my God, just give him the 10 out. So then Gordon
Wasn't me.
Gordon did a lollipop and then knocked it out of play. I'm not criticising Gordon. It happens. It's football.
Sounds like you.
But he knocked it out for a goal kick. This fucker started shouting, going, "That's the way, get at him." And I went, "It's a fucking goal kick, you prick." I went, "He's fucking knocked out for a goal kick." If that had been Maxi, he would have been on the pitch, man, trying to assault him.
Decker, we need to sell Maxi for your
But again,
your blood pressure just can't take this.
Right,
so I'm gonna.
right.
It's not good for you.
Gordon, let us finish.
It's not good for you.
Just let us finish.
No, because it's going to come back to Maxi because you mentioned Gordon.
Just listen. So, right, if Gordon becomes Messi,
I feel there's more of issue here than
just listen. If Messi becomes, apologise.
If Messi becomes Gordon.
If Gordon became Messi, why does that mean you've got to sell Saint-Maximin? I cannot understand it. Why not just have him as an option for a midweek game? Have him an option to come off. Why is it?
Oh, when I said that about having Maxi as a super sub,
he might not want to. No, I didn't say that. I said he might not want to do it. What I'm saying though is if you want to get a bigger squad, people want to sell Maxi now. Sell him at 5 o'clock after that game. Well, sorry, it was 5:30. So sell him at 8 o'clock tonight. Right, that's what. No, listen.
But that's because
That's
because he's got a value at the minute, hasn't he? He's got a value at the minute because people
not by our lot.
No, but in the grand scheme of things, if you look at people who we could potentially sell and cash in on, as you've said, I know we don't. I'm not
richest club in the world.
I'm not saying that, but all I'm saying is, if you look at it purely in that sense, it would be a time that you could cash in on them to make a decent.
I'm going to end it now.
I'm not saying we would or we should. I'm just saying that.
It's a stupid argument, though. Just because Gordon has a good 15 minutes doesn't mean you sell someone.
He's a back on Alan Saint-Maximin.
Right,
again.
so what he said something there. Would you sell him based on that hour?
No.
Would you sell him based on that hour?
No.
Would you sell him based on that hour?
No.
Next question. Move on.
I like
Sell him based on the last
you've been
3
waving
years.
your arms
Right,
around
right.
that much, like your watch face has changed.
Things I've been wanking. Bro.
So people that
Anyway, I'm
obviously-
sorry. I'm sorry.
you can't see what's happening over here.
Could you
but
not have just like
not
just give him like an
No.
hour, just have a
So,
rant or something?
I've needed that
On
though since
yourself.
Saturday.
I
You
can
know.
tell.
Stuck some like this.
I
He's
feel
gonna.
like honestly, I feel like a counsellor. So you can't say Decker's watch is going absolutely mental because he's getting wound up.
He's gonna have a heart attack.
He's also sat near a fan eater.
I'm
You
on
must-
fire.
My
now,
leg
you
is
know.
on fire.
Turn that off, please.
I'm getting hot.
I had no idea that was on.
Like honestly, you must be roasted over
Listen. I know people are going to go. I had loads of grief on Twitter about it on Saturday.
again, I'm going to punch you.
No, on Saturday I got a lot of shit like on Saturday, like saying, fucking, you're trying to defend him and all this. I did not do that on Twitter, by the way. on
You've been
Saturday.
doing it for 3 friggin' days in the
Nah.
WhatsApp group.
Nah,
Right.
but that's different.
I'm going to go through the questions because we've been going in now and now.
Does Danny Mills look like Moby?
A little bit, yeah. Right.
Mind you, to be fair,
Here he
sorry,
comes again.
just to be fair though, I must
Oh my
admit,
God,
right,
can't
for all, get me in that Guinness. For all I know,
No, don't.
No, I know. For all, listen, I know we argue, right? Listen, Mark is fucking unbelievable guy, right? And it's not personal, I think. But that was I'll have to be honest. This was the question that I hadn't asked you on phone or anything like that. Is I just wanted to know whether you thought his performance was bad enough to warrant the reaction that happened, and even you said it was over the top. And to be fair, I respect that because I know you didn't like him. No, I'm joking. So no, to be fair, that like that does actually mean something to me because I think like I honestly thought.
But I also don't think he was.
Then again,
His
Joe said that and
performance.
Scott said
His
it.
performance was
Right.
was
Boys,
bad enough to warrant
I
the
will not.
defence that people are going on at them as
Aye.
well.
All right, okay,
Right,
all right.
I'm
So
moving on.
there's
If not, I'm just going to press end
extremes
stream.
in both massive
I'm
sides.
just going to end the stream in a minute.
Oh, I'm going to shake hands here.
I-
Whoa, I haven't. There's loads for us still to talk
Right.
about.
Alan
Right.
Saint-Maximin made me do the Keegan there, man.
We need a special. We need a
Right.
Maximin special at some
Next.
point. Like you too.
Next,
don't
this
wanna talk
one
about
is from Josh Stockton, who sends in a donation.
Bloody hell,
This
Josh.
pissing question about Saint-Maximin. He says, "Hi lads, hope you're well. What changes, if any, would you make for the Bournemouth game?
Gordon in for Saint.
I've seen a lot of people giving Maxi a hard time. It's not." He says, "I'm not his biggest fan, but he wasn't as bad as people
Right
say."
up there, lad.
He also again goes on.
Didn't see
How much-
Decker,
give the
that
money back
doesn't
to
mean
him,
he
he
was
deserves
good.
it.
He
That
says,
doesn't mean he was good.
No,
he says
Relax.
he's got his popcorn ready for Mark versus Decker. Mate, I'm guessing you've ate it by now.
Do you know what it is as well? I was,
It's Decker versus Decker.
No,
He's
it's
just
not.
getting at himself.
no,
Right,
it's
right,
not. I'm arguing it. What I'm seeing out there.
Thanks for your
That's what I'm
question, Josh, but I think we've covered that in quite a lot
No,
of detail.
So I'm not going to answer this. I'm not going to answer this. but
Bestie,
would
I'm,
you-
I'm asking you the
I'll
question.
would you
the same
make a
team.
change?
Nah,
Would
keep
you?
the same team.
Would you make a change?
Exactly the same
Would
team.
you make a change? He would.
No,
I'll keep the same team, but Gordon would be coming on at some point.
100%.
And
Yeah.
likelihood is because he's maybe it's for Mickey, but St. Maximin as well. But yeah, I think Gordon would be coming on at some point. Just
Can
for a
I-
look at him because
So
he's
sorry. I'm
The,
so
the
sorry.
only the only caveat to that for me is Gordon could be unbelievable in training this week.
actually I've been Pope off as well. He's conceded 2 games now.
That's right.
Oh, terrible.
I am.
Bring Darlow back.
I just want to reference one more point, and I will then never talk about him again until next week.
Do you promise? Till next week.
Is again something else that hurts us a bit, right? Is that again I went on there and they were saying if he's not up for the task and if he's not willing to change and if he's not willing to play our way and all this bullshit, right?
Anybody fancy a pint?
Well, I've got one. I'm sorry. If that was the case, he would not have started on Saturday. Period.
You wouldn't be in the
Period.
squad if
His
he wasn't.
exactly his attitude, his application and training must be there. Sorry, to be part of the squad and to start in that game. Because if it wasn't, he wouldn't be in the squad.
There's a
So
player
you
there.
take that argument and fuck off.
He just didn't have a good game,
right. So
basically.
other changes which could possibly happen: Callum Wilson coming out of the team and Isaac coming in.
Is he back from his concussion?
He will be 7 days,
so
won't it?
you would have thought.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Well, it'll be like 2 weeks. Maybe,
It was a bit touch and go for the weekend.
I think if Wilson scores, which he did twice Saturday,
I'm only rings of close.
I think
He's done 10,000 steps sitting still in that chair.
given that Wilson scored on Saturday, I think you've got to stick with him. You know, again, similar to Mark, I don't think he was necessarily wonderful. Scored his first goal since October,
Always scores
Should
against West
sell
Ham.
him.
though,
Should
doesn't
sell
he?
him. He's shite, son.
but he does. He does do well against West Ham. Like, that's right. Who's it? Bournemouth weekend. His whole team.
So we're all
Yeah.
sticking. We're
Down
all
it.
sticking with the same starting 11.
I'd probably
Vitality as
start
well,
Gordon, to be honest. No, I wouldn't. No. Do you know what it is? Though?
It would make life so much easier if we did start with Gordon, wouldn't
I'll
it?
be a nervous wreck, like, because I'm banging the drum here, but I'd probably stay with the same team. I just feel up front with Wilson.
Let's.
I'm
not even going to ask it.
I do
even gonna
sometimes
ask
think
it.
he's very isolated. Like I have to say that. And I think when you're up front against, I'm not saying Bournemouth are the best in the world, but West Ham are defensively are two good centre.
He was marked by 3 players.
I know that's what I mean. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and if I'm gonna, only one more time, if I'm gonna try and defend Maxi going, when he gets the ball, there's 3 round him. I kind of have to give the same to Wilson because sometimes he's taking back towards goal, some difficult passes into him, and you're asking him to hold off 2 and 3 players at times. That can be hard, sometimes.
I think the problem is as well that the goals haven't in recent weeks really come from elsewhere in the squad either. Where like we've mentioned, Willock's
dried up a bit for me.
A bit of fun. Longstaff got a couple of crack ones against Southampton in the cup, but in the league. So yeah, I think the problem is that I don't think Maxi. No, I'm at it now. I don't think he necessarily fixes that.
Sorry, what?
I think that goals aren't coming. If Wilson's not scoring, not many are. I mean, we've got that one late one when Isaac scored against Fulham. We haven't scored him.
Well, do you know his Almiron was chipping in because he had 10 and 10, didn't he?
Yeah,
so it was Miggy scoring a lot, and Miggy's went dry. And this not slagging off Miggy. I'm just saying he has, and I agree. I do agree with that point. That let's be fair. I think it's the last 5 Premier League games we've scored maybe 1 goal, maybe 2 at the most.
2 Fulham and Wilson at the weekend.
I'm certainly not going to run to Twitter and complain and say we're finished or anything like that. But when you other people chip in, right?
Might do you well. Good.
Might do as well. Right? But no, you're right. And it is. It's I tell you, one of the areas I still think we should be doing better in set pieces. I think we've got one of the biggest sides in the entire world, and we don't really look
this on one of the previews a couple of weeks ago. And
again, I look like I'm criticising, but I just mean like you've got some big lads.
I don't think you're criticising. I just think you're trying to deflect from how bad Alan Saint-Maximin was.
So there was also another donation that came in from Zach Horney. He sent in $4.49. He says, "Get Dan
That's very
Burns."
Specific.
This is unusual on that, like that.
I think there's certain
exchanges rates or something.
Certain options that you can put on YouTube. I think they do it. So he sends in $4.49 and he says, "Get Dan Burns' heat map up and settle it." So while everybody was arguing about Dan Burn earlier, a couple of people were in the comments mentioning Dan Burns' heat map. Guess where it is, Mark?
On your phone?
Guess where his normal positioning is.
I'd imagine it would be in that Chippy and Blythe. That's got a big.
So his heat map, he is hugging the centre line.
Dan Burn.
Halfway line.
Halfway line.
Oh, of course he is.
He's just hugging the halfway line.
Of course he is.
So he's not just sitting defending them.
But he's not pushing on either.
Come on, Mark.
Well, he won't have his majority of his position won't be there, will it? But I bet there's some in that top left hand corner on both sides of the pitch.
That'd be green.
No, he doesn't get forward very much, and this is where I think anybody that plays left hand side, don't give us the last 10 minutes of that game. Anyone that plays at left hand side in moments in games are going to find it difficult because you're going to find it tough because it's got more men to fucking deal with. You just have, you know what I mean? And and until the day, I'm not saying
we haven't found it difficult the last X amount of games.
On the left hand side, I say not all the time.
I thought West Ham seemed to make a point of attacking Burn. As it goes.
Well, they had, as I say,
their quality.
Bowen and Bowen's a good player. There was him, and they made the change. I'm sure it was Johnson.
Antonio as well. Antonio right back off wide a few times, and
so they're doing it because again, and I know he tracked back before you start getting excited again. I know he tracked back, but most of the time you've got 2 on your left back, haven't you?
Do you know the only thing I would in reflection of that one? Or retaliation of that one, maybe that word, is I still think with the 3 in midfield, that left side of midfield just comes across, and I think that puts that fire out. To be quite honest with you, I really do.
I think if we had to change things in the midfield, and maybe's gone Joe and Sean sitting with Willock more central, as opposed to just having Sean there and then Joe and Joe, double Joes in front of them, things might have been different in the middle of the park.
Okay,
we might have got a bit more of a grip.
Couple more questions
because out
on the left as well.
Josh Stockton says, "Can we get a compilation video of Mark versus Decker at the end of the season, please? It would be gold."
Putting together that.
It's has it always been about him? Not always. We used to argue about other things, but I think it has been mostly Maxi, hasn't it?
I've never argued with it. You're arguing with yourself today.
Can you remember that? Don't worry, it's going to be fun. Can you remember when we're in the Ashley pub, right? I'll never forget this one. And this was one of the I just walked off. I remember him saying to me, remember it was the Arsenal game, and he went, well, if Maxi wasn't so fast and waited for people to catch up with him.
You wanted Maxi to slow down.
But then you wanted him to slow down. And I remember before he was criticised, he never crosses the bar. And then I said, well, he was crossing, but there was no one in the middle. And then he said, well, if he wasn't so fast and slowed down a little bit and let people catch up and then cross it. And I just went, good night. And I just walked off. I think
he went offside, but he was trying to run into a position, like a decent move.
No,
and
was that
running too
right? I
fast.
do remember that, and that was me winding you up right at the
Oh.
end
That
of that
now.
with that comment, wasn't it?
But it worked. It worked if you did.
James Alexander also sends in £5. Says, someone buy Decker another beer to calm the nerves. He also says, do you think Maxi will be playing? Do you think Maxi would be happy playing a bit part? And
Well, he came out after the game and said as much, didn't he?
I don't know about forcing the move, but I don't think he'd be happy doing that.
I wouldn't want any player to be happy doing that, if I'm being honest with you.
Well,
I would question the attitude.
The comment he came out with was, other teams will see the situation when players are like something along the lines of clubs notice when players aren't getting into teams, and that alerts them.
I was going to say where Journey would go if you hypothetically, but there was talk of Milan, wasn't there, in the window there? So
let us go just for 1 second. I am personally worried about his future at the club because I will hold the argument of that the way we are going in the style that we want and the player that we want might not be him.
I think we will just
And
probably easily replace him with a player that's going to have.
I think we already have.
I was going to say
I
maybe
think
maybe
we'll
we'll
have.
is that replacement, yeah. Different sort of player, but I think he probably will replace him and have better stats when it comes to assists and things like that.
He might do. He might do that. That lad's only young as well, Gordon.
And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
You look at his stats coming in are terrible. They are, but that doesn't mean under how he's not going to get a lot better. And I think he will be very good. Honestly, I do. I just think that the style of play that we are trying to do, I think Maxi will struggle in that.
Mm-hmm.
But also in the same, and I'll just one more time. First start in 5 months, I just don't think there's reason to really bat him all over the place.
Few mentions of people saying they like it when you two argue with each other. You can go back. We've actually got a playlist which is Mark versus Degger, which is this but not football related, which is a good laugh to be fair. So yeah, go and find them as well.
I embarrass myself even more. I think
You
on
do.
them, to be fair.
You do embarrass yourself massively.
It gives me a nice easy night when these two kick off. Like,
know.
absolutely so much reviews. Like,
Do you know?
I could have done this at home.
I swear to God, today at work I was thinking, don't just let it go. Like just agree with him and say he was not very good. It's fine, and I couldn't do it. I told myself not to overreact, and it just went 10 now.
He knows your buttons.
You know what it is? I purposely haven't reacted to him all weekend because I knew it would just
And ironically,
get him
at the end of it all,
stew him more and more and more.
probably on my side more than I would expect, really. Much as what you said, really on my
quite
side.
off the man.
Do you know what it is? I think overall, you've met halfway, even though you were already at that point before we even started recording. You just shouted a bit in between.
Yeah, I was more
Pretty
pissed
much,
off with people on Twitter.
Didn't they? We just went.
Yeah.
Hey,
He just wanted to have an argument.
But he invented a league that doesn't exist as well.
because it's the Maxi Defence League and you're in charge of it.
The MDF.
The MDF,
MDF, aye.
Maxi Defence Front.
Maxi Defence Fee.
But I do want to reference Gordon when he come on. By the way, that pass for Wilson was beautiful.
Yes,
Great
it was,
ball. That was
Really
long
beautiful.
esque.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Very
I did really like the way he just wanted to move the ball as soon as he got it.
Yeah.
Got
Triangles,
going forward. It wasn't dwelling on it at all.
I would have liked this. I think I'll reference this out. I was kind of egging him on to have because there was a few times he got out wide, and I thought, oh, can he get a shot in? Can he beat this man? And they do what they do the most. Well, left hand side players is the fullbacks there. Then the centre half comes out, and next thing you know, that chance of a shot's gone. You have to play it. And I think you could see Gordon was dying to have a shot.
I think he was really keen to
You know,
impress. I think that
well,
was
of
a lot
course he would be,
of
David,
because of how he played.
Yeah,
A lot of the way he played was down to him kind of either being like adrenaline going right
100%. Yeah,
in front of the
100%.
52,000 whatever. He did have that one shot that got kind of put over a corner in the end of the edge of the box, but he was keen. Like he looked really, really keen, which is obviously a very good thing.
And I think that's again that's impacted the reception that the fella who I'm not going to mention has got after the game.
I think another reason why I was so annoyed, as well as they were going, he's done more than 70 minutes, and he's done more than 10 minutes, and he's done 70. I thought Gordon did more than 10 than any fucker in 70.
I'm pretty agreed.
But
it's
nobody wants to
a-
hear.
It's a like for like comparison, isn't it? In the position. That's
I
why.
hear you.
Well, no.
I hear you, Dan. What I'm saying though is on the other side of the field, Miggy, well, any fucker, he did more than anybody. But no one cares about that. Though. No one
So
cares.
sticking on a sort of subject to just because it's been mentioned. JC mentions, he says, the Helios video was fun. Good to have some idea what it is about. So me and Scott did do another Helios video to see.
I still don't understand it.
So yeah,
Have you watched it? Have you watched it?
the video?
I didn't think you would have. Like,
If you watch the
I've
two
got-
videos,
Because I hear
We are
Saint
literally
Maximin,
teaching
so I
you
wouldn't
how
want
to
watch
win.
anything to do with them.
we're literally teaching you how to win this game.
Well, doesn't always necessarily work.
Well, on that one it did.
Well, see it on that
On
one,
that video it did.
Scott's doing well, isn't he? Top summit.
Now we're starting to drop now.
Oh,
Is it online?
That's because everybody else is
No.
copying it and we're starting to win.
It's just an app.
I've never
No,
played it
on the
before.
app.
I have no
On the
idea
app
what it's about. At all.
I haven't got a clue.
I'm his biggest fan. I've never even seen his card game at all.
Maybe if you spent more time on the training pitch than that game.
Mark just did.
That was the follow-up to the question, but I didn't.
Oh, was
read that. So he's staying up all night playing that game, not going to training.
Hey, can I say one thing though? On Twitter the following day, do you see that guy, that kid say, I couldn't believe it, slagging him off because he was on a plane at 6 a.m. He was going to France or something and said, oh, Maxie's on my plane. What the hell is he doing on a
Oh, no.
plane? And people were like in the tweet going, oh, it's a disgrace. Then underneath, oh, well, actually, I've just heard Botman's went to Holland, but it's
He's
all
in
right if
Paris,
he went.
Botman's in Paris.
Yeah.
Sorry, Botman was going to the same place. And he went, but that's all right. That.
Helios competition.
I mean, come on, guys. It's fight fair. It's fight
Is
fair.
there anything which you want to mention? Oh, actually, I'll finish on this
I
question.
don't think we've talked about Alan
Shut up.
Saint-Maximin enough.
So I'm going to end it on this question, and it is from. Let's have a look. I think I did. Yeah, I sent in a few questions over the years. It says, guys, what is your thoughts on the Man City cheating charges?
Oh.
Oh, cheating. Strong.
It says, big up the Geordies from a neutral fan.
Oh, fair play to him.
I
Who
hope
does he
support?
support?
Man City.
Man, you.
Bestie, let's hear your voice for a little while.
Oh,
Sorry.
I have to do some warm ups and stuff. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I was reading a thing Daniel Story wrote in the online thing earlier on, and I just thought, is kind of, I think most people thought it'll be, they'll get a slap with their wrists, 30 grand fine, maybe a couple of transfer window embargoes, and that'd be that. Like, but it appears that they're taking it really, really seriously. And there's talk of kind of expulsion from the league and this, and I mean, I don't think we'll go that far, but it certainly seems to be a more serious thing than I'd anticipated. And it kind of makes us pretty glad that we've kind of gone in the windows. Well, FFP, we've better be careful here.
Slow it down a bit.
Yeah, because obviously I've seen fans do it. I've seen, what about Chelsea? What about Newcastle? And hang on a second. We spent the money on Gordon in the window, but we haven't gone berserk. You know what I mean? But people
I
thought
think that
would
was
do.
Big Frank, to be fair.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. Again, reading this article I read today, it might not be resolved this year. Even this could be something that rumbles on for a long, long time yet. But you've got fans of teams going, oh, well, Liverpool fans were robbed 3 times, Man U fans were robbed so many times, and this article goes on to say, well, like we finished 5th one year, and how would, when they finished above, if they hadn't have done what they were doing, it's all hypothetical. Would they have then finished lower? Would we have finished 4th?
Got a saying for that.
But then I think, am I right in saying here that if the season that we finished 5th, if we'd have finished 4th, we wouldn't have qualified for the Champions League anyway, because
Chelsea won it. Yeah.
so was it Chelsea in the top 3, wasn't it? That went through because Chelsea finished 5th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Sorry, 6th because we were 5th.
yeah we wouldn't have gotten there.
So it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to follow. Well, it might be interesting. We've been quite dry, to be honest with you. Like, but
Do you think they'll make an example of Manchester City now?
oh god, who knows? It's really hard to say.
I think they might.
They could, and it would kind of be a shot across the bows of Chelsea, who spent all this money, but got players on long contracts. They've actually changed the FFP rules, partly as a result of what Chelsea did in January.
Chelsea technically haven't done anything wrong. They've
They
just bent the
haven't
rules.
Well,
they've
yet.
really.
They haven't done anything wrong
I'm
yet.
saying, yeah, but this business, everyone's kicking off about the contracts. If that's in if the rules have now been changed, then that
Yeah.
means they haven't broken any, because they've had to change
What-
them to stop
the
them from
main
doing
thing
it.
found a
Chelsea have
loophole,
done
Yeah,
is
that's all they've done.
disadvantaged themselves greatly over the next few
I
years.
give you
By
that one. I give you that.
I think I said last week I'd read that they'd already committed 20 odd million of each transfer window for the next 8 years. So next 16, 15 windows might be.
Yeah.
Because of this, and obviously they want to spend money in future years because in 8 years' time, a lot of the players, even that Mudryk, will be like 30.
100%, yeah.
So, oh well, you'd be
But
mid-
sorry,
20s.
I apologize. I mean, Man City. I thought I took it away. The conversation there. Sorry.
But the Man City thing, I think it'll have pretty, even if the punishment isn't massive, if it's not a big points deduction or demotion or whatever, I think the fallout from it will have massive implications for the likes of us, who've all of a sudden found ourselves with a very a very kind of a benefactor with deep pockets who look like that kind of itching to get their ducks in a row, as it were, to spend it with regard to sponsorship stuff. We've seen, I mentioned last week, well, a flight partner for a mid-season tour
for a week away.
Which is like, you don't need that. That's just a way of kind of creaming more money. So I think we'll find that it's going to be the implications for the rest of the league. And I'm not just saying Newcastle, like Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, everyone. It's going to have
well, I think
big ramifications. Like
they're seeing 100 breaches of that.
100 plus,
which is a hell of a lot. I just think that. I remember when UEFA says, like they were not going to be able to play in the Champions League the following. You remember all that, and that seemed huge at the time.
Appealed that one,
They appealed it, and now it happened. I just feel that I feel like it's more serious that the Premier League's done this one. I don't know why, but I feel like it's more. I don't know.
Independent body stepping in as well.
But part of us. I think the reason why I'm saying this is because I've never seen any evidence in our country to suggest otherwise. Is I feel they'll get maybe a transfer ban and a heavy fine.
So transfer embargo.
Yeah, and a heavy fine. Which the fine, that's ridiculous. There's no point in that. But there's not going to be like a Juventus case where you're going to end in Serie C or something. They're not going to get relegated or something, which would be lovely. But
having the same boom song.
Exactly, it would be lovely. But I think it'll be maybe a transfer embargo and some kind of fine. I think personally.
Thoughts, Mark?
Yeah, it's a strange one because, like just been said, they've almost already got away with it once with the legal cases and stuff like that.
Well, was that 2 years ago?
Slightly longer than that, maybe
more,
4 years, something like that. It was definitely before COVID. So
it
longer,
would have been
longer than that, maybe 4 or 5 years. And everybody expected, something big then and ramifications for it, and it never happened because they just got a 50-man and woman legal team to get on the case and got it all wiped out.
The Super League as well, there.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It just again goes into why those teams up there wanted to move on from the Premier League and go in, not just in this country, because we've certainly seen in Milan. We know that the state that Real and Barcelona are in financially as well, due to these rules and just ways that they can get around the FFP as well. So it's going to be a very, very interesting thing to watch over the coming weeks and months. I don't think it's going to be. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be ratified very, very quickly. So,
is the FFP the Maxi Defence League?
Close. Yeah.
Do you think it'll affect Man City at all? I mean, manager, player. Do you think any of them will care? Well, sorry, care is the wrong word.
Well, Guardiola said that if he's been given assurances by the club, this is a while ago. Actually, it was at the start of the season that he'd been given assurances by the club that everything's above board, and he says, if they're lying to us, I'm gone. So possibly.
Yeah, I just wonder if it'll play on people's minds. I mean, in fairness, Pep said it in his interview, which was quite weird because no one knew why he said, but he kind of said, well, there's 8 clubs don't want us in this league or something like that. He referenced, and no one was like, what the hell is that about? But then 4 days later, this is so he obviously was aware days before that this was coming out because he referenced it, but nobody understood what he meant. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think what I would say is I think it's ballsy from the Premier League, and it's took them 4 years to get this together. So, because let's be fair, you'd have to be almost airtight.
Well, that's what I mean. I think the wait is this long because they would have had to make that it is watertight now.
Exactly, mate. Watertight because you know that
especially with the appeal against UEFA, obviously that got overturned. So the Premier League now must think we've got them.
There's a precedent with Everton as well. Everton, we know have already massively overspent it. They only got fined.
They got fined, didn't they?
Well, Chelsea
and it's only going to get worse there as well.
Chelsea put a case forward now that FFP should be changed totally because of Everton's or the lack of punishment that Everton were given.
So basically, I think Chelsea are looking at it saying Everton got away with it. We should get away with it.
Might as well just have a go.
The floodgates are open, and that would kind of.
It's a risk.
It wouldn't. I don't suppose it would have any implication on Man City's situation because they've broken the rules for 10 years, apparently for 10, 11 years, whatever it is now. So that would still be the case that they're still broken the rules. Whereas from here on in, and I think it's right. I think it.
How far do you go back though? That's the
thing. If you've
gotten away with it for that long, then where does it end?
No, but you can't commit. You couldn't commit murder for 10 years and go, I got away with them, so don't charge us.
It's a bit different, though, isn't it? Like murder.
You broke the rules. You can't. Then, as Bessie says, if them rules have been in place for a decade and you've brought them every single week for a decade, then you get charged for the decade.
Yeah.
What happened with the Italian saga? Like, how long did that go back?
Well, Milan got.
Did they not get titles
for
a long time?
2-3 years, wasn't it? Juve got relegated, but that was because they went bust, though, wasn't it?
Juve, and I thought it was not just a heavier punishment because they were particularly nasty.
There was all sorts of bungs
Nah,
and bungs and all sorts.
They had all sorts going on. Then ended
All
up getting,
Costs get
getting wrapped up.
Did they get
packed full
titles
of them.
taken off them though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
This is what I mean. Like,
There was a
and
point
that was
where-
match fixing. And
There was a
things like
point where
that as well, though.
Juve had won that 20th or 30th Serie A title, and they had a star on the shirt, an extra star, and the Italian network going, well, no, hang on a second. We've taken 2 off you. So,
Yeah.
so that was a
Yeah.
thing for a while.
If you can breach these rules more than 100 times, and all you're going to get's a fine, well,
What's
then
the point?
Exactly. Manchester City would willingly pay £50 million if that means they've won the Premier League 4
Yeah,
or
of
5
course.
years.
Yeah.
They'll take it on the chin and move on. And you have to set that precedent of we can't afford the likes of us to do it, so we need to be really strong here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Right.
Otherwise, if they're not, well, we'll just piss against the
I
wall
will
and
do
just
it.
go mental and win
Yeah.
everything. And you know what I mean?
I'm going to end it there because we've been going for nearly an hour and a half. Thanks everybody that has joined us tonight. Thanks everybody that is watching back, not live, and thanks anybody who is listening to the audio. If you want to like the video, there's been almost 300 throughout this one from start to finish. So just like the video, it means a lot to us. Become a
It's about
subscriber.
300 people just laughing at us. Is that what you're saying?
Probably laughing at your Keegan moment. If you want to become a subscriber, please do so. It costs absolutely nothing to do so. And if you want to give it extra bit back, you can become a member. It's just $2.99 a month. You get bonus videos, you get early access, and you also get access to the Telegram group, which is currently arranging some sort of meetup in London.
Yeah, for Wembley.
So thanks everybody. We will be back next week. More match previews. Go back and watch that Helios video that me and Scott did as well if you're struggling on that game. Plenty more things coming. See you later. Watch what you're doing. Ta-ra.
Brilliant.